live on YouTube and then we'll get started. All right. Hello and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Shatadeepa and I am your host and moderator today. I work as an in-house psychologist at Positivity. I welcome all of you for this warm discussion on something which is very, very relevant. Sometimes we might read about it, but we might not often have a lot of insight to how to go about it. So today's topic is childhood trauma, safe handling, and understanding. Why did we come up with this? We will get into that shortly, but before that, let me also introduce Positivity as a platform. We are a Singapore headquartered mental health organization working hard towards bringing quality care and services to all of you and make it affordable and connect all of you with the right expert who are available on our platforms. Having said that, since we work with topics which needs a lot of awareness and insight, childhood trauma becomes something which is relevant. Very often we read in the news about unfortunate incidents happening to children or children growing up to be adults who are going through a lot of emotional difficulties, challenges, not knowing what to do about it, a lot of intolerance. Just I'm so sorry for the glitch. Um, so the challenges in terms of emotional development, how adults also see in their interpersonal relationships, how to go about them, often are deep seated into what they have gone through during their childhood, how that have been handled by parents and adults who are responsible for their upbringing. That really needs to be understood and intervened if we want healthier adults and emotionally safe adults in today's time and in the future as well. So here is where our expert, Ms. Jessica Budwane, comes into the picture. And it is important that we understand her expertise and get started with learning with her. I'll just take quick 2 minutes to introduce her. Ms. Budwani is an RCI recognized clinical psychologist, and she works with children and parents at the juncture of teaching them, educating them, giving them psychotherapy and occupational therapy services. And she is listed with us as a trusted expert on our website. If anybody is seeking consultation, you can book her through us as well. I am very excited to learn more from Jessica, and I invite all of you to get started with her.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Okay, so we'll quickly start in with understanding childhood trauma. I'll just share my screen. Yeah, so we often, hear this word a lot that, our child is experiencing trauma is but the difference here lies is that adults can still express what they're feeling, what they're going through, but children, they don't understand what has happened with them, what they are going through, why they're experiencing these emotions, why they are feeling so differently these days. So it is important to dive deep into what is childhood trauma all about and how can we handle it in better ways, because when we understand it, only then we'll be able to handle it in a better manner. So This is about positivity, and Sabziba just introduced you about that. So this is just a brief introduction, and they are a organization who are handling everything, and there's a platform so you can book your sessions through that as well. Now let's just proceed further and let's meet Arav. And Arav is a 7-year-old boy who has started showing a changed behavior at school. And his teacher reports that he has started repeating himself in his classes. He's unable to, pay his complete attention while he's doing something. And he has also started having frequent anger outbursts, and he refuses to participate in any activity, and sometimes complains of stomach aches in school. So, this is what Arav is right now, and this is what his teacher has to say about him, that he's experiencing certain things. There are certain behavioral changes that he is going through, and it is quite visible at school because he was not like that kind of child. He has started showing these signs, these behavioral things recently. So now let's see what his parents' point of view is on Arav's behavior. They think that he needs more discipline, and often parents think that their child is pampered, their child is spoiled, and this is our fault only that we give him too much, and now he's not listening to us. He just wants attention, and he has started becoming very rude, and it is getting so difficult to handle him now. And because of this behavior, because parents got multiple complaints from school, they started punishing Arav. They started giving warnings to him and scolding him that, you have to behave at school. You cannot do such things at school. And because they were very afraid of the school complaints, and that they might, tell them that Arab will not be is not allowed in school anymore. So they started taking harsh measures for Arab. But the hidden story was that in the last 6 months, his home environment had changed a lot. His parents had started fighting. There were a lot of loud noises at his home, and because of that, Arif was going through a lot of emotional instability because he was not able to understand what is happening. He saw his mother leaving the house at night after a brutal fight with his father and returning back next morning. So Arav quietly absorbed everything that happened in his environment, and he was not given a safe space to express all of his emotions because he was not explained, he was not told what was happening. He just observed, he just saw everything happening, everything negative happening in his environment, and that reflected in his behavior. So it was not something that Arav was a bad kid, or Arav was misbehaving, or Arav was doing it intentionally. It was that Arav was not only realizing what has happened to him, he was feeling very uncertain with his emotions, and he did not know, he did not have a safe outlet to express his emotions. Hence, all of those things happened in his behavior. Now let's just decode Arif's behavior. So children, when there is a certain transition in their environment, when there's a certain change in their environment, or when something is happening with them, they are never able to express it through words. They always use behavior as a mode of expression because for them behavior speaks. And that's why there were so many behavioral changes with Arav at school. And Arav's trauma at that time was misunderstood as misbehavior at school. So this was a situation where we first saw the signs of trauma in Arav, and then we were able to decode it that what was Arav feeling, and hence we understood that it is trauma. Now let's understand another example. Let's understand another child who experienced trauma first, and then we happen to see some signs of trauma in her. So Meher went through an accident. She's a 5-year-old girl who was hospitalized after a serious accident, and she had to go through a lot of painful medical procedures. And while she was admitted at hospital, she was separated from her parents for a longer duration of time. She was going through fear, and she felt that there was a very unfamiliar hospital environment, and everybody around her knew that she has went through that traumatic event. And therefore, there were signs of trauma in Meher. Even after she was discharged, she showed extreme clinginess towards her parents. She never wanted to, get separated from them. She had developed a new fear of sleeping alone, and there were nightmares. She used to cry before going to school because going to school meant that she had to be away from her parents for a certain duration of time. And she also developed fear of doctors, and there were regression in toilet habits. Now, let's understand what happened here. So, the event ended, but Meher's nervous system was still in fear. So, trauma had ended, but trauma experience for Meher had not ended. Trauma does not mean that when the event ends, the things related to the event also end. So, trauma continued to, happen with Meher because she was feeling all of those things. She was experiencing all of those things, and her body remembered all of those things as well. So let's just understand usually what happens when parents think about trauma. So trauma through a parent's lens is usually that, like what happened in Araf's case, the parents started feeling, why is my child behaving like this? Why suddenly, he behaved in a certain way? So parents always focus on the behavior. They don't focus on the underlying causes of that behavior. They forget to understand that what has just happened, what is going through, what is different in the environment that just happened, because of which the child is showing certain different behaviors. Then they start looking for immediate solutions. Like in Araf's case, again, they just wanted that they scold Arav, they give warnings to Arav so that there is immediate improvement in his behavior, and they wanted to improve it as soon as possible. They get concerned about discipline, routine, and daily functioning. So he was not behaving well in school, and that was disrupting his discipline. That was disrupting the parents' routine as well, because they were getting frequent complaints from school. They had to visit school and everything. So they were also, so they don't like it when they get concerned, when they get multiple complaints about their child, and they get very concerned when the routine of the child is getting disturbed, or there is something in daily functioning that the child is not able to do. And they end up getting confused and overwhelmed because they feel that they are doing everything that they can for their child. They are being good parents all the time. Then what is happening? Why is the child behaving so differently recently? So the underlying thought is that something is wrong with the child. Now let's understand what happens with the child when they are going through a trauma. So the child is experiencing that something is not feeling right. I was okay till I was feeling okay sometime back, but now I don't feel okay. I have a lot of emotions inside me, and sometimes I feel unsafe, sometimes I feel confused. I don't even know how to explain this, because they also have a fear that when they will try and explain something to their parents or anybody around them, then they will get their feelings will get dismissed. They will get scolded that this is normal, this happens, don't think about it so much. And the child only knows that something is wrong with me. I just know that I am not feeling okay, and I just want to feel okay. So the underlying experience is that I don't understand what I'm feeling. And when it comes to a child psychologist, then they have a different way of looking at this entire thing. They know that the behavior that the child is experiencing has to do with something that has happened in child's life recently, or a transition, or a trauma, because of which the behavior has changed, and there are some emotional signs also. So this, how does a child psychologist perceives it is that is behavior. What is the behavior trying to communicate? That the behavior the child is showing right now What is the underlying cause behind that behavior? Where is this behavior coming from? So the first and foremost approach as a child psychologist is that we focus on the behavior, but we focus on the depth of that behavior. We go very deeper inside that behavior, that what is this behavior, where is it coming from, what happened recently in child's life that caused this behavior, or what is the duration that this has happened. So they want to identify the emotional triggers behind that behavior. They want to understand the patterns and responses. Like, is this something that happens only when the child is going to sleep? Or is this something that happens only when the child is, going to school? Or something that, like, in case of, when what we discussed about Meher was that she started developing a fear of hospitals or a fear of doctors. So this is something that is happening usually. She's experiencing fear usually when she has to visit a doctor. So this is a fear response. This is something that is coming from deeper, incident, and hence this is a pattern. So they want to understand the pattern behind that behavior, and they then connect that behavior with the experience, that because parents are aware about everything the child is going through, but sometimes they are unable to decode the reason, the behavior, and also that they feel that this has happened so long ago, how come that thing is now impacting my child? Right, but the psychologist wants to know about that impact, that deep thing that happened, that trauma the child went through, because they want to connect the behavior with the experience, and hence they have to work on the, you know, on disconnecting this behavior with the experience, because the child is operating with fear. So the underlying approach that the child psychologist follows is that this behavior is a message that the child wants to communicate something else to us through this behavior. Now, in simpler terms, trauma is not just what happens to a child. It is definitely what happens to a child, but it also is how child experiences and how child responds to it. So, if Meher had a difficult surgery, or Meher was hospitalized for a longer duration of time, then her experience with hospital, with doctors, or she started experiencing clinginess because she was away from her parents for a longer time. That was her experience, and that was her way of responding to it. And it was not Meher, if it was someone else, then it might be possible that that person, that for example the girl is Gitika. So Gitika is, not experiencing that thing for a longer duration of time. She moved on from that incident, and her experience was not as bad as Meher. So every child responds to trauma in a different way. What might be trauma for one person or one child might not be a trauma for another child. So it is an experience that feels overwhelming, scary, or unsafe, and something the child is not able to process or cope with. So the child is not able to understand what just happened with them, and they are not able to cope with that fear, with that thing, with that scariness. And it can be due to a single event, or it can be repeated experiences as well. Like for example, in Meher's case, it was a single event. She was hospitalized one time, she went through the accident one time. But for Arav, it was repeated experiences. He was experiencing fights with the fights, between the parents for a longer duration. He might be experiencing it daily or on alternate days. He was seeing that thing almost every day, which led him to, feel scary or feel angry. So two children can go through the same situation, but their experience might be very different. And hence, this is what trauma is. Trauma is what the child experiences, but also how the child responds to it. Now, let's just understand the types of trauma. So, one is acute trauma. Acute trauma is usually a one time overwhelming event. and that is something that a child is not able to process. So it could be an accident, a natural disaster, a sudden loss, or any frightening incident that has happened with the child. And how it looks like is that there is sudden fear or anxiety. There are nightmares, there is avoidance of reminders, and there is clinginess. So basically, when the child has experienced something one time, the parents get more confused because they are unable to process what has happened with the child, what suddenly happened with the child, that they are behaving in a certain way. Then we come to chronic trauma. Chronic trauma is something that the child is exposed to for repeated number of times. Like there's an ongoing conflict at home. In RF's case, it was that situation. There is repeated bullying that the child is experiencing at school or any other place that he is going to. And there is constant criticism or harsh discipline that is being used by any parent or anyone in the family, that he's constantly getting criticized, that if the child is fat, or if the child is something different, that he is not able to study, then he is constantly getting criticized at home, that you don't work on yourself. We tell you so much to do this, to do that, but you end up getting you end up getting low marks in school and all of those things. So it looks like constant anxiety and hypervigilance, that if they are not studying, if they are in their room and they are not studying, and somebody suddenly enters their room, so they will be very anxious. Suddenly they feel very, they'll be always aware and always trying to look around their environment, that something doesn't come to harm them. There is a lot of irritability and aggression. Then there is emotional shutdown. The child might not feel like speaking to the parents, talking to the parents, or talking to their friends, anyone else in their environment, and hence they feel very difficult to trust anybody for their feelings or to express their feelings with someone else. Then there is complex trauma. So, trauma that happens within close relationships and affects the child's sense of safety and identity is referred to as a complex trauma. For example, in RF's case only, he was experiencing a sense of, he felt that his sense of safety and identity does not exist anymore, because the one, the one relation that the child is most close to is their parents. And when the parents start fighting, or when the parents are experiencing something negative among them, the child feels that, there is nobody to look after me, there is nobody I can share my things with, because I always go and talk to mama, but mama is so upset that I cannot talk to her right now also. So the sense of safety, shatters for the child. They feel that they are not safe anymore and they cannot communicate anything to their parents. So whenever something in close relation happens with the child, then it is an example of complex trauma. So the examples include emotional neglect or abuse or lack of consistent caregiving and unpredictable parenting. Unpredictable parenting means that the parent is unpredictable, and the child is unaware how they will respond on a certain thing. Like for example, the child is scoring 45 out of 50. How will the parent respond? Will they be happy that you scored good, or will they be angry and sad that why did you lose 5 marks? So that is unpredictable parenting. And how it looks for the child is that they find it difficult to form relationships because they have started developing trust issues. They have very low self-worth, and there is emotional dysregulation and a lot of confusion about safety and trust, because now they have a feeling that they cannot be safe with their immediate family. They cannot trust their immediate family. So then who else to trust if not them? Then we come to role of parents. So it is very important to understand that when the child is experiencing trauma, the role of parents matter the most, because parents are the they are the caregivers of the child, and how they react to the situation, how they respond to the situation, how they are not able to responding with the child, how they are talking to the child, how they are making them understand about certain things, that matters a lot. Because if the child is experiencing something, they are unaware of the situation, but the parents are usually aware that what has happened with the child or what is happening with the child, and why is child experiencing something so differently these days. So parents' role matter a lot, and there are certain things that the parents should do and should not do. So let's talk about the things that the parents should do with their child if they feel that they might be experiencing any kind of trauma, even if it is a very small thing or a very small element. But the parents should, follow certain things so that the trauma doesn't go, to an extreme level, and that the child does not feel that the parents don't understand me, or the parents uh, are ignoring my uh, behaviors. So, emotional regulators. Children do not yet have the ability to fully understand or manage their emotions. In moments of distress, they look towards the parents to understand how to respond. So, usually it happens that when the child is in a situation, is in a difficulty, they always look up to their parents because they feel that if I am stuck in a situation, my parents will help me out, my parents will understand this, and they will know what to do about this. So, when the parents stay calm, grounded, and patient, the child's nervous system also begins to settle. But when the parents react very aggressively, or they show panic themselves, or they get frustrated, that it can intensify the child's emotional state. So parents have to be very patient, very calm, and very grounded themselves in order to make sure that the child is feeling very calm and grounded, and they don't feel that the situation has worsened. Then comes sense of safety. So trauma often makes the world feel unpredictable and unsafe for a child. Whenever something traumatic happens, the child feels that this place, this world, this house is feeling very unsafe. So it is very important for the parents to ensure that the child is not feeling unsafe, and they reassure them again and again, and make sure that their safety is maintained. So it is very important to maintain their daily routines, like making sure that whatever things happened during trauma, that does not impact the child's, basic functioning and daily routines. Whatever the child was doing till now, the child should continue to do that only, and nothing changes. They don't, start seeing the child with sympathy that now the child will not be able to do this, so let's just cancel the plan. Then being emotionally available. So it is very important for the parents to understand that the first thing that gets impacted when something traumatic happens is the child's way of processing their emotions. They don't know how will they react. They don't know why are they crying. They don't know why are they feeling so different. So it is important for them to be emotionally available for the child, and by making sure that whatever the child is experiencing, the parents are validating that feeling and not dismissing that feeling. Then responding in a consistent manner, that not getting very hypered at a certain point of time, like exactly not being unpredictable. Parents respond, like if the child has done something wrong, your response towards should be consistent. It should not go from very high to very low, that you are shouting and scolding the child for a very long time for certain things. And for the second thing, you are being very calm and patient. It makes the child feel very unpredictable, and develops a sense of fear in child, that they are not sure what they can share with the parent and what they cannot share with the parent. Then comes validating the emotions. So a child needs to feel that their emotions are accepted and not judged. So when the emotions are dismissed, and the parents make them feel that, it's not a big deal, this keeps happening with everybody, you are not different, stop crying, then the child feels that he cannot be 100% emotionally out there in front of their parents. Then they start hiding their emotions when their emotions are dismissed. So it is very important validate their emotions and tell the child that I know that you are upset. I know that this happened with you and it might have felt very scary for you. And it's okay, we will deal with this together. So, children, the only thing that children are looking for is that emotional validation and that collaborative approach, that if something is wrong, if something has happened with me, then my parents are here to support me, my parents are here to listen to me and to work with me on that thing with me, and not dismissing my feelings and telling me that it's okay, it's not a big deal. Then encouraging expression. So when a child has gone through something emotionally traumatic or any kind of incident, then they don't have the words to express their emotions, they don't have the words to express what they are feeling. That's why they show everything through their behavior. But instead of, it's very important to observe their behavior, but it's also important to give them certain environments, certain things which help them release their emotion. So it is important for the parents to play with the child, to ensure that they are drawing and they are involved in storytelling, because when the child is playing, while playing they will show a lot of themes in play, a lot of types of play that they will do, that will make the parents feel that this is something that is different. The child has started expressing or started playing in a very different manner now. They don't want to play with me, maybe, or they don't want to involve any other person or any other friend while playing. So this is like a change in behavioral, a play behavior of the child, and that is something that the parents should observe when the child is playing. When the child is drawing, it could be that they are using a lot of one color only, like black or blue or red, and every color, intensive use of any color, it signifies something about the child. And when the child is involved in storytelling, they also come up with stories about them, but representing that story through characters. So a lot of times, children, when they're not able to express their emotions, their feelings through words, they use these emotional outlets, that is play, painting, drawing, and storytelling for themselves. And here the parents have to give them that space to use these mediums to express what they are feeling. Then setting gentle but firm boundaries. So it might happen that the child is behaving differently recently, and they, in anger, they might be throwing away certain things. They might be throwing away toys, or they might be throwing away anything, or they might be fighting, or hitting something. But at that point of time, we cannot let things go by saying that it's okay, my child is going through something, my child is facing, he has faced a lot of trauma, that's why he's behaving like this. We cannot do that. We need to make sure that even when the child has experienced something traumatic, we are establishing boundaries with the child. We can do it very gently, but the boundaries have to be very firm. Firm in the sense that some things are not acceptable, and that is very important to communicate to the child. Like if you are angry, then I understand you are angry, but throwing things is not okay. So that is establishing a boundary, that even if you are angry, even if you are not feeling okay, we can do something else about it. But when you are angry, then throwing things around is not okay. So it gives the child a message that I can express my emotions. My emotions are allowed here, but when I am feeling a certain emotion for a longer duration of time, then I cannot be, dealing with it in a very negative way. I cannot be very harmful, or I cannot throw away things. I need to figure out that I am angry, and then my parent will help me deal with that anger in a healthy way. Then seeking support when needed. So parents usually feel that the traumatic event was not as bad, and trauma is a very, it keeps happening with everybody. It's not something that only my child is experiencing. So they feel that they will handle the situation on their own. But sometimes when the behavioral changes are very persistent and there is a lot of intensive emotional reactions, and the child is having difficulty in daily functioning. Difficulty in daily functioning means that the child is unable to go to school, or they are unable, even if they are going to school, they are unable to, read and pay their complete attention in school. Then they are unable to do certain things that they used to do, that like dressing up their own selves, eating on their own. They are having difficulty doing things in their daily functioning. Then it is very important for the parents to seek help from a professional, because a professional's way of doing certain things is very different from uh, how a parent will do it. Now let's just understand. We just understood what a parent should do. And now it is also important to understand what the parents should avoid or should not do when they feel that the child is experiencing some kind of trauma. So the first thing that the parent has to avoid is, don't invalidate the child's feelings. This we like already talked about, that we don't have to make the child feel that it's not a big deal. It happens with everybody. You are not different and it's part of life. Why are you overreacting? These kind of words, these kind of sentences makes the child feel that they are not, they don't have the space to express what they are feeling. They don't have, there is no space, there's no proper environment, that they're alone, because they feel that when they want to cry, then their parents will make them stop. When they want to show anger, then their parents will scold them. And they also feel misunderstood. So over time, this can lead to suppression of feelings. Because of fear, the child might not, express those things in front of the parent. They might start crying alone. They might start crying in washroom, and they start having difficulty expressing their emotions, because they get a signal that wherever I express a particular emotion, my parents dismiss that feeling, and they don't give time to validate that feeling. So it is very important to validate what a child is feeling by telling them that it's okay, I understand what you are going through, it might be scary, and this is the way we can deal with the situation. Sometimes parents feel that the child has grown up enough to deal with with that situation on their own, but a child will always need their parents to help them figure out how to cope with that situation. It is also important for the parents to, use that independent approach, that I cannot be there for the child all the time. That approach is right, but that approach doesn't work all the time. A lot of times, there has to be a lot of support and help provided. Only then that independent approach will come in. Then comes, don't ignore the behavioral changes. So parents think that this is temporary, this aggression will go away, it's a phase, it's a time period. Might be the child is in their teenagehood. So they feel that this is all mood swings, this is because of the hormonal changes and all sorts of things. But sometimes those things are not just for a temporary for a temporary phase. It might be for a longer duration of time. So it is very important to figure out that if that thing is existing for a shorter duration of time, or if it is continuing again and again, and it is coming back again and again after every interval or after every certain amount of time. So parents usually think that this thing will go away and we will figure it out. We'll see what happens. It's nothing. But trauma often shows as sudden aggression, withdrawal, and clinginess. So there are sudden, very sudden behavioral changes that start happening when the child has experienced trauma, and that sudden change is not because of something temporary, or because of a phase, or because of an age. Then don't force the child to move on. Usually parents feel that this is something that you have to forget. This is something that that has happened in the past, and now you have to move on from this. You have to be strong. You cannot let your emotions control you or overpower you. So sometimes the children, it's not that children don't want to move on from that situation. It's just that they are not able to move on from that situation, and it is not easy for them to move out of certain things so quickly. So it can make the child feel very rushed and very pressured, that my parents are pressuring me, and uh, because they need time to process certain things, and healing will not happen instantly. It is a gradual process and it will take time. The parents need to be there for the child for that gradual process, and not rush them or not force them into forgetting certain things quickly. Then uh, parents often go into this comparison thing. If something happened with them as well as a child, with their child as well as a child in their neighborhood or in their school, then they start comparing their children, that other children were very fine when this happened. Why are you so overreacting so much? Or why are you behaving so differently? Why are you so weak? Or why you always do this? So it creates shame and self doubt for the child, that maybe it's me, maybe I am the reason that this is happening. Other people don't feel this way, so it is I am who's to be blamed. And they feel very shameful, and they feel that something is wrong with them. So it is very important to understand that every child experiences trauma differently. That's why we first talked about what is trauma, because trauma for one might not be trauma for another child, even if they have experienced same thing at the same time. It's not, if for example, if Arav had a sibling and he also saw the parents fighting, then it's not compulsory that even his brother will start showing that behavioral changes. It might be that that brother has different way of dealing through that situation, and for him he might not feel that it is trauma. So maybe he has started ignoring it, or maybe he doesn't feel something is off. He feels that this is normal, this is usual. So that's why two children will never, experience trauma in the same way. That's why it is a very personal experience, and it might be different for everybody. Uh, don't try to dismiss their emotions or what they are going through with distractions by saying that, let's watch something, let's do something, let's play this. You will forget about it when I'll divert you. Let's let's go out. So usually what happens is that parents feel that when they will take their child out for a certain amount of time, or when they will watch something, the child will forget, and then that behavior, that emotion will not come again, because they have distracted the child. But distraction does not mean healing. Distraction will definitely delay the response for that particular point of time. That at that moment the child will not feel anything. They will definitely get distracted, but that feeling of fear, that feeling of scared, or whatever traumatic experience they have felt, and they have emotions in relation to that, the child will not forget that. The child will not uh, forget it completely. That thing, that emotions, that phase, that behavior will come again after the distraction has got over. Now, it is important to also focus that when the parents feel that they are not able to handle certain things on their own, and it has become important for them to take their child to a therapist, then what is the role of a therapist in in all of this situation, and how do they safely handle a child who has undergone some traumatic event? So here's the role of a therapist. The therapist knows that they cannot hurry any situation. They know that for a child who has experienced trauma, the first and the foremost important thing is that they have to create a safe and trusting environment for the child, because the trauma has made the child feel that they are not safe and they are not valued, and their emotions are their emotions don't have any space. So the role of the therapist is not to fix the child but to help the child feel safe and accepted by providing a warm and non-judgmental presence. That is by not questioning what the child is feeling, by not making the child feel that judgmental, that because they are crying, so there should be no change of facial expressions or change of body language in therapist, because the child notices all of those things. They feel that if they have shared something with the therapist, and if there is a change from a therapist side, they know that this is not a safe space, and they cannot talk about their emotions in front of the therapist. So then the therapist has to make sure that everything is very predictable, and the sessions are going in a consistent way, and they respect the child's comfort, that whatever and whenever the child is talking something or not talking, even if not talking something, even if the entire session the child did not play, did not talk, or did not do anything, then also the therapist has to be there for the child and make him or her feel comfortable by just being there and telling them that if it, even if you don't want to do anything, it's okay, we can spend some time just by sitting here. Then second thing is building rapport. So, before using any kind of therapy or any kind of technique, it is very important for the therapist to build a very, very good rapport with the child. Because when the rapport is built very nicely, very warmly, then the child knows that they can trust the therapist and they can get comfortable, they can get vulnerable in front of the therapist at any point of time. So it is very important to build connection and gain the child's trust by creating a comfortable space for the child. And this usually happens through play, through conversation, or simple interaction. And rapport holds a very, very big, a big part in therapy. Because if the rapport is built properly, then it's the foundation of any therapy and any therapeutic process that the child will further get into. Then the third thing is that looking beyond behavior, which is usually what a therapist does, because they do focus on the behavior. They do want to see what kind of behavior the child is doing and expressing, but they want to understand what is the emotional trigger behind this behavior, what is the pattern uh, that is getting repeated in this behavior, and what was the child's experience because of which this behavior has come in, and what is the child experiencing right now. So they don't just focus on the behavior, they focus on everything which is around that behavior and from where that behavior has actually emerged. Then facilitating safe expression, which this is the same thing that we discussed for parents also, that usually when children are going through something, they never talk about it, they never express their emotion through words. They always need channels for their emotions to get expressed, and the three best and three most important channels when it comes to trauma is play, art, and storytelling. So uh, children, when they are playing, they express a lot of things. When they are into play, when they draw something, everything that they are drawing has a hidden meaning behind it. It is a therapist skill how to interpret that drawing and how to extract things from that drawing that the child has drew, and what kind of colors the child has used, if there is any significance behind using a particular color. If the child is using a color in all of the drawings, then also that interprets something about the child's drawing. And when the child is using a storytelling, that when using puppets or using some figures, using miniatures, then they are expressing, they're trying to tell something, they are using the figures, the characters to express what they are experiencing in their real life. So these are the ways the child express their emotions without feeling pressured or feared. That they have to tell something, they have to speak about their emotions. In this case, they just feel that they are playing and they are just getting involved, like they're just playing with the therapist and nothing. They don't have to do anything. Then co-regulation and emotional support. So the therapist has to act as a calm and regulated presence because they don't want to make the child feel, even when the child is discussing something, talking about something, and uh, you know telling a traumatic thing that happened with him or her. It is important that the therapist is very, very calm, and they are supporting the child and understanding their feelings, and this makes the child feel safe even during distress, and they feel that they are supported and not judged. And this is what is avoiding re-traumatization, that whenever um, the child is experiencing something, or they want to talk about something, then the therapist is not rushing the child, they are not forcing the child to talk, they are not making them experience that traumatic event again, or making them go through those memories, those flashbacks. They don't overwhelm the child with questions by asking them what had happened, who all were there when that happened, all of those things. These questions make the child feel uncomfortable, and they feel that they are re-traumatized. So we have to avoid this as much as possible, because when a child feels comfortable, when a child feels that he's not being judged, then they will take their natural time, and they will express everything that they want to tell through their own medium, and through their by taking their own time. Then this is very important, that when it comes to trauma, it is very important that the therapist work at the child's pace. That is, if they are taking time to open up, then the therapist should not make any kind of hurry. The therapist, like I just discussed, that even if in a session the child is not doing anything, not playing, not talking, not making a drawing, anything that they are not doing, the therapist should not rush the child. And because the child needs that space, needs to feel that emotion, and needs to understand that even if we are not doing something, the therapist is there for me to help me come out of this situation by just being here for me. And they don't express directly, so their mode of expression is very indirect, and that is through play and art and everything that they are doing, uh, but except from talk apart from talking. Then because the parents are the most important care, like they're the most important part of a child's life, and the child is taking therapy or taking sessions from us, but they are just taking sessions for like twice a week or thrice a week. But the time apart from that, they are spending with their parents. So it is important to involve the parents in this entire process by making sure that we are psychoeducating the parents, we are guiding the parents on how to respond on certain things the child is going through. We help them understand the child's needs, the child's emotions, and we try to create a consistency between home as well as the sessions, so that what we are, doing with the child, even the parents are able to do that, do those things at home with the child, so that the progress is, it strengthens the progress, and the child feels that the environment is very consistent and very same, and they feel safe to talk to either you or their parents when they are part of therapy. uh, this is like a checklist sort of thing. It will not be same, or it cannot be used universally, but it is some of the things, some of the signs that usually children who are going through trauma, they might be showing these signs. it could be different or it could be more for somebody and it could be less for somebody, but usually this happens. So emotional signs include, sudden fear, anxiety, or clinginess, irritability, anger, and frequent mood swings, withdrawal or sadness, and feeling easily overwhelmed. The behavioral signs means that they are aggressive, they are hitting, they are throwing things, they are avoiding certain situations, certain people, certain places. If they have experienced a traumatic event or an accident, they don't want to go back to that place. Or whenever they are going back to that place, they are feeling very fearful, very scared. Then there is regression. Regression means that something the child has achieved, like they don't do bedwetting anymore, they have overcome through that developmental phase. But when some traumatic event happens, they go back to certain developmental phases that they had overcome earlier, like bedwetting or thumb sucking. Then difficulty focusing or sitting still, so there's a lot of fidgeting that could be happening. And there's a change in their play. So if you actually start observing their play behaviors, there's a lot of repetitive things that would come up and intense themes that would come up when they are playing. Then physical or body signs include sleep disturbances, and they're facing trouble sleeping, or they're having nightmares. There might be frequent stomach aches or headaches. Then there is restlessness or hyperactivity and sudden changes in appetite. And relational or daily functioning means increased dependency on caregivers. That means clinginess, that they want their parents for everything. They don't want to get separated from their parents. And even if they were going to school, like very naturally earlier, but now after that traumatic event, they are facing challenges going to school for a longer duration of time and spending time outside home without their parents. Then loss of interest in usual activities, like things that the child used to enjoy, like playing something, playing a sport or watching TV, but now they are not showing interest in those things. And sudden drop in school engagement. So there's a drop because they are not able to focus, they are always distracted. So there's a sudden drop in school grades as well as participation in school activities and everything. So this was all from my side, and thank you all for listening so patiently and attending the webinar. If you have any doubts, anything that you want to ask, then you can just unmute yourself and ask.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Jessica ma'am, for this wonderful session. And if you have any questions, you can put them in chat box, and I can allow you to talk as well. So let me know if there are any questions. And I would just like to quickly conclude the session. This is a very insightful session for all the people out there, and I think it's a very important session as well that everyone should listen to, should get aware about as well. So, yes, and I would just like to say, give my gratitude to ma'am for presenting this beautiful topic, and we're having a chance to host her as well. Okay, we have a session, we have a question now.
I'm not able to understand the question. Can you um, maybe unmute or rephrase the question?
She is unmuted now, I think.
Afternoon. Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Hi.
Ma'am, hello, ma'am. Ma'am, it was a really very insightful session. I
Thank
just
you.
want to know, ma'am, let's say if we have two to three, ADHD children in the class of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some of them they show the aggressive behavior.
Hmm.
So, like being the facilitator, how to go about this in the class? Of course, we should have a rapport building, but how to keep the class, give space to these inclusive students or as well as to the students like uh, as normal or the gifted ones.
So, ma'am, before anything, it is very important to understand that first of all, that how much level of hyperactivity or attention diversion or attention deficit is there. So for that, it is very important that you refer them to a child psychologist or anybody who will do assessments, and you get an understanding of where their level is, because each child is different and each child's symptoms and signs are different. uh, they will have some of them might be seeing other people and copying their things, even if they don't have certain level of behaviors that they want to express. It could be just copying, because in a classroom setup it happens a lot. And for that, you need to take their, if there are three or four children, you need to make other five six children aware of those things and make them, like, you can use a approach in this. You can just partner them up. So one child who you think is hyperactive and one child who you think is not hyperactive, you can pair them up, you can make them sit together, and you can make the child who's not hyperactive aware about that inclusivity, and make them very generous towards that thing, and make sure that they are helping the child who is hyperactive. Because as a teacher, I'm assuming that you are a teacher. So as a teacher, it becomes difficult to handle the entire class. But when you are taking help of students only to, help other students, it makes the process easier for you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any other thing that you want to ask?
And special educator, then she will or he will tell us like this is the stuff which the child is facing. So then, how to go about that? One-on-one
So
remedial classroom sessions,
I couldn't,
ma'am. Like
ma'am, could you
ma'am,
pardon
you said
the
like we
question?
have to take the help of the counselor.
Yeah.
We have to take the help of the counselor to better understand our student.
Hmm, 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 hmm.
So
Ma'am, your voice,
this is the school.
ma'am, your voice is breaking. I couldn't
Ma'am, after
understand.
taking, ma'am, if we go like how to utilize the feedback of special educator in the normal classroom, do we have to go about one-on-one teaching with the child to strengthen
Yes,
his skills?
ma'am. So, when you think that the child you are dealing with is very hyperactive in the classroom, then you can use certain movement-based activities with children. Like, you can start with, you want to channelize their energy while the class is starting. You want them to be settled by the end of the class. So you can start with movement-based activities, and movement-based activities don't have to be random. You can use whatever you want to teach in that class. You can use this that in form of an activity. That I'm not sure which class you are talking about, which age range. But for example, if you want to teach them about alphabets, then you can make a chart or make different flashcards, and you can tell them to put certain flashcards in that chart paper, or the objects that they recognize. So that is a movement based activity, but they're also learning, because expecting expectations from a child who is hyperactive, that they will sit for a longer duration of time, they will understand, they will listen. That is not the right approach, because we cannot expect them to be understanding us and attending to us all the time. They have a very shorter duration of attention, so they will divert their attention in approximately like 15, 20, maybe 10 minutes. That all depends on their settling time. So you have to use movement based activities, movement based learning activities before you expect them to settle in and listen to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Last question, ma'am.
Yeah,
The
ma'am.
scenario is of 10th graders. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Currently, they're in 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So, boys, usually I'm talking about. Girls are proper in that class. The thing is, how to break the sleeping patterns. They do respect me, so they try to, control their sensory organs. But there is something which is, disturbing them, and they are having the sleeping patterns in the class. So, of course, I can go and check out their thing. What do they do during their time? How to cope with this?
Ma'am, I couldn't hear your voice at the end, but whatever I understood from
Ma'am,
your
sleeping. They are having the sleeping patterns in the class.
sleeping patterns means.
They sleep in the class. They love me also. They respect me also. They try to, sit to gain
Hmm.
the knowledge because they know they are in 10th grade now. But they are sleeping. And this copying thing, I thank you for telling me this. Some of the behavior, some of students, they're copying others' behavior. But how
Hmm.
to break the sleeping patterns in the class?
So, ma'am, for that, if you are experiencing like a lot of children who are sleeping, then that is definitely copying. But if you think that if you're talking about your normal class, if you're talking about somebody who is not hyperactive in class, if you're talking about a normal crowd, then you have to make ensure that you are giving them punishment also. Punishment don't have to be harsh or don't have to make the child feel that they are they don't feel embarrassed. You are using certain punishment techniques that that make sure that they listen to you the next time and they are not unfollowing you what you are saying. So for that particular class, if you feel they are sleeping, you can just start with little things like you can go and wash your face and things like that. But if you feel that they're still not following that approach, then first of all, you should definitely talk to their parents. Maybe they are experiencing something, uh, that they are not able to sleep on time at home, or their sleep is not getting completed at home. That could be an issue. And if you think that that is not an issue, then you have to make sure that you are using repetitive punishments with them. You are giving them timeouts. Timeout means that you are telling them that you have to sit in the corner of the class for 10 minutes, and you cannot talk to anybody. And if you think that that is not working, you can increase the duration of that thing, and you can use it with everybody, because you can just tell them that I'll not proceed, I'll not teach you. And you don't have to tell them that I'll complain, I'll do this, I'll do that. You just have to tell them that I respect you and I expect that respect from you as well. But if half of you are sleeping, then it is difficult for me to teach. So today I'll not be teaching. It's you just give them time and give them space and tell them to sleep for that entire class, and then see what happens. Is there any other thing that you
Thank you so
want
much,
to?
Jessica, ma'am. I really appreciate it. I got a really good insight out of all that. Thank you, Jessica, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Shivani, for your wonderful questions. And just like to conclude by just sharing my screen.
You are not audible.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica ma'am, for this wonderful session. I would just like to conclude by sharing my screen for Positivity slide website and showing. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
So this is Jessica ma'am's profile. You can scroll down and see what sessions she has. She offers time duration of 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 90 minutes as well. You can see her cost and her profile. You can book a session accordingly from here. And this is the Possibilities website. I'll just put it in the chat box so it's easier for everyone. All right. Thank you so much for joining today's session. And I hope this has been a wonderful session for everyone. And yeah, thank you so much. All right, I've put the link so everyone can see. All right, thank you so much. Bye bye, everyone.